Welcome, friends of Japanese Prince, for another episode of Japanese Prince, seen and narrated by Dieter Wanschura. That's me. Who is me? Well, I'm the owner and manager of a company with the name Artelino GmbH, Artelino Company, and we sell Japanese art prints in weekly online auctions. And with these videos, I want to get you a little bit closer to the knowledge of Japanese prints, because it's really interesting and fascinating. And today I want to talk about a very important artist of the Meiji period. His name is Kiyochika Kobayashi. He lived from 1847, is that correct? Just a moment. Yeah, it's correct. Until 1915. He was born in the Asakusa district of Tokyo. Worked as a freelance painter, printmaker, illustrator, and teacher, and is a very important artist of the so-called Meiji period. The Meiji period began in Japan in 1868, and his importance is seen mainly as a trailblazer for the renewal of Japanese printmaking in the form of the coming new Shinhanga art movement. So he was something like in between, helping for a renaissance of Japanese art prints. When I speak of classical Japanese prints, I mean such artists like Utamaro, Hokusai, Hiroshige, Konisada, Kuniyoshi. When you're a little bit familiar with Japanese prints, well then you know what I mean. Kiyochika Kobayashi was from an old samurai family, and he lived in this time of transition from a medieval Japan to a Japan of rapid modernization and westernization. His family kept a lower military samurai rank and served the old shogunate. That was the old regime kept firmly in the hands of the Tokugawa family for nearly 250 years, practically since 1600. And during that time, there was no war. But at one cost, Japan was excluded from the outside. No Japanese was allowed to get out of the country, and no foreigners were allowed to come in. And Japan, by 1847, when Kiyochika Kobayashi was born, was basically a medieval country. Well, that changed when in 1853 a huge fleet of black iron ships, an American fleet under the command of Commodore Perry, anchored off the coast of Japan and forced the opening of Japan. Commodore arrived, okay, that looked threatening. The Japanese knew only wooden sailboats. They had never seen iron steamboats. And Commodore Perry told them, I will come back in 1 year from now, and then I want a treaty from you. I want you to open Japan for a commercial treaty with the United States. And this is what he did. He came back 1 year later, and the Japanese signed the Treaty of Kanagawa of 1854, and that was the beginning of the opening of Japan. But in the beginning, it was not so smooth and easy. Okay, it was practically a kind of civil war. Skirmishes, battles broke out between the loyalists, the proponents of the old order of the shogunate of the Tokugawa family, and the opponents. At that time, the old shogunate was already in crisis, and the opponents rallied about the emperor. The emperor lived in Kyoto, not in Tokyo, in Edo, and for 800 years he had a purely representative function. He was like a toothless tiger, and the opponents of the shogunate rallied around the emperor with the battle cry, support the emperor and expel the barbarians. With the barbarians, they meant the foreigners who had arrived with the black ships and had forced that treaty of Kanagawa. Well, Civil War skirmishes, it was not very really funny. That period is called the period of the Boshin War. And there was a last showdown in 1868, the Battle of Ueno. In that battle, 200 loyalists were gunned down by the opponents of the shogunate. And Kiyochika Kobayashi at that time, I think he was roughly 20 years old, he was on the side of the loyalists. Yeah, his family was a samurai family of lower rank, and he even fought in one of these battles. I think there was a battle in Kyoto. He was captured, but he remained unharmed. He was captured and he was interrogated, and they asked him, "Hey guy, what are you doing there?" And he explained, oh, I'm an artist. And then they told him, "Hey, go home." Yeah. Well, in 1868, the old Edo period ended, and the new Meiji period, with the emperor as the head of the state, began. And well, then the old battle cry, expel the barbarians, turned actually into the opposite. Learn from the foreigners, and we must now forget our past, and we must become like them. Okay, we have to introduce modern Western technology and so on and so on. And there was a problem for the old samurai because they had no job. There was roughly estimated 6 to 8% of the population. And they had received deputies in rice by the state. They never worked. Yeah, they were idle guys doing nothing, and he was one of them. So his very basis of existence had disappeared, and he had to learn something. And he decided, well, to become an artist. At the beginning, he tried all kind of odd jobs like photographer and whatever. But then Kiyochika Kobayashi, of course he had to find a way how to make a living. He decided to establish himself as a freelance painter, photographer, and illustrator. That was so from 1875 on. In 1876, he made his first woodblock prints, and well, he became kind of successful. He worked for newspapers as an illustrator, and in 1894 he even could establish his own art school. Well, the merits of Kiyochika Kobayashi is the introduction of Western art elements that he had seen from the French Impressionists, like the effects of light and shadow. He introduced that into the old trade, into the old art trade of making woodblock prints, ukiyo-e. And he introduced, for instance, shadows. Yeah, take a look at that print there. Shadows, shadows. The old ukiyo-e, Hiroshige, they knew no shadows, nothing. Well, some art historians call him the last Mohawk of ukiyo-e. I already mentioned that, he had many students, and quite a few of them became important Shinhanga artists. One was Tsuchiya Koitsu. He stayed in his home, by the way, for 19 years. And Kiyochika Kobayashi was the most important artist to pave the way for artists like Hasui Kawase and Hiroshi Yoshida. By the way, collectors of Japanese prints who know our company, Artelino, well, know that Shinhanga is one of our strong points, by the way. But I'm now signaled, I'm already talking for too long, so let's finish today. And please don't forget to bid in our auctions, artelino.com, and hope to see you again in 1 week from now for the next video about Japanese prints, another episode narrated by Dieter Wanschura. Goodbye and thanks for watching.